Hello, welcome to another session of Actualize After Hours. We're going to be playing Wavelength today. We have a new team member playing with us, other Dani. We'll have to decide how we refer to Dani's. But yes,
favorite
we have another
child.
team member.
I know.
Favorite child versus, not favorite child. I'm going to go ahead and wear
Black
that role
sheep.
of not favorite child. But yes, we are going to teach Dani a little bit about how to play kind of on the fly today. And basically, in case you haven't seen any of our previous sessions, or if you're unfamiliar with the game at all, Wavelength is a really fun multiplayer game where we split into teams and we have really weird conversations about things like how underrated or overrated is a spear as a weapon. All sorts of interesting questions. What were some good ones that we had last time? We had some good conversations.
There was how wet or dry was potato bread.
Yes. How wet or how dry is potato bread? These are questions that Wavelength gets us to answer as a team. So we're going to break up into two teams, and this is kind of what the game looks like. It's a physical game, by the way. We're going to be playing a physical game while all of us are remote, meaning at some points we're just going to have to cover our eyes, and that's fun. But basically, the game is, it's pretty self-explanatory as we play it. I think it'll make a lot more sense. So we're going to kind of just jump in and try it out and sort of go with that along the way. So we're going to break into teams. How should we decide teams, guys?
How about alphabetical first half versus second half?
Okay.
First name or last name?
That would be Brian, Dani, and Dani versus Jay, Peter, and Lisa. If we're going by first name.
Next time we could do last names.
Okay. Next time it'll be, what if it was just the same?
It won't be.
Not be.
Won't be.
We've got Wenbro, we've got Zaggy, we've got Tucker. Yeah, it'd probably be me and Jay and Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well,
This
we're
is
gonna
very
do
convenient for me because I see on my screen Jay, Peter, and Lisa show up on the top row, and then Brian, Dani, and Dani show up on the bottom row. Is there any way in Zoom to like rearrange these, or is this just
I don't
like the
think
way
so.
it's
They're gonna
crazy.
the viewers are gonna see what I see, which is Peter, myself, and Jay are in the top row. Lisa, Brian, and Dani are in the bottom row. All right, so we'll do Dani's and Brian. We'll call it Brian, Dani squared, and then Jay, Peter, and Lisa on a team. So let's go ahead. Let's have your team go first, so Dani can kind of observe around. We'll have your team go first. Who do you nominate to be your psychic?
Jay.
Jay is a psychic.
Oh, you want me to nominate? I thought you were saying you want me to nominate.
No, you will be the psychic.
Okay.
I'm
Jay's gonna
seconding
be
that
the
nomination.
psychic, which basically means, so here's what happens. We have this big wheel, which, by the way, this thing comes off, and there's a big target on the wheel that awards points based off of how close you get to a target. So what's going to happen, right, is that Jay is going to be the psychic. I'm going to go and I'm going to spin this around so that this target is somewhere totally random, and none of us are going to know where it is, except for Jay. Jay is going to know where it is. But I guess before we spin the wheel, maybe we should decide on the topic. Yes? So there's a bunch of little topic cards in here. There's a whole bunch of them. And basically they're double-sided, so we're going to let Jay pick what side he likes better. And the first topic, this one, says dystopia versus utopia. So they're opposites.
Mm-hmm. I like that one, but let's see the other one.
Oh, this one's fun. Bad pizza topping versus good pizza topping.
Ooh. Where do you
This
put
one
pineapple?
is much more, I think, personal preference.
Yeah.
Right, but that makes for a fun conversation. It's hard to get it right, but it makes for a fun conversation.
What
For
do
the
we think,
sake of
Jay?
our team, I'm going to go dystopia, utopia, since I don't ever do pizza toppings.
Okay, so Jay is picking dystopia versus utopia, and that card goes here like that, so we can kind of see it. So now what happens is we're going to spin this target like this, and Jay's just going to tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, we stopped there. So the next thing that happens is I show Jay where the target is, but none of the rest of us are allowed to know where the target is. So all the rest of us, everyone but Jay, is going to cover their eyes. We're not going to see. So I'm going to put this in front of my face. I can't see it. You ready, Jay?
Yeah.
This is so hard. Come on. I'm just going to pick it up. I'm going to pick it up. because it's easier to hold it and then put it in the box. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Can I see the card? I forget which way is it.
Yes, let me know if you can see that. I don't know where I'm putting it. You can read it, okay?
Yeah, you can close it, and I still have to think of my clue.
Okay, everyone can open their eyes now.
And we don't really know if anybody's cheating until we look at the recording. And they'll be like,
That's
holy
true.
cow, this person was cheating the whole game and we did not know.
Yeah, I'm putting it totally in front of like my screen, so I can't see anything that's going on, but it's easy to think I could be cheating. But I think
Okay.
I'd be doing a lot better if I was cheating than I have historically.
That means you're a really good cheater. That's the long game you're playing.
Long on. That is something I would do. I'm a little sociopathic in that way.
I have one.
Okay, he's ready. So Jay's gonna give a clue to his team. And that clue is going to be what his team uses to discuss and decide where they think the target is based off of the clue. And they're going to discuss this. I'm going to move the target for them, and then we're going to see whether or not they're right. So
currently the target, currently the little red needle is at dystopia, like
total
perfect, or
dystopia.
total dystopia. And the other side would be total utopia.
Yeah. Ready for the clue?
Ready?
Yes.
That COVID-19 completely disappears 11 months from now.
What?
I
Like that
think that's a
scale.
fantastic.
It's not just a scale, it's like whiplash. It's like COVID-19 dystopia totally disappears, utopia 11 months from now, question mark. Like I'm hurting, Jay.
Yeah.
All right.
It disappears, so clearly it can't be total dystopia. It's going to have to get moved a little bit.
So I would my gut feeling is
Yes,
like
go with your
dead middle, just because he went on all of these weird extreme edges. But if I had to move the needle one direction or the other, that I would probably move it more towards dystopia, right? Like if you said total utopia or something that leans on utopia, you'd be talking about, like gardens and flowers or something, you know what I mean?
Peace.
Something positive, right? So he's talking about, mitigating something negative, right? So I'd probably move it further into dystopia, but I'm not sure how far. I just don't know how far. I don't know what this means to Jay. Like it's realistic enough, so it's not like we're not talking like Mad Max end of the world scenario, you know what I mean? Like everybody's dying and zombie apocalypse kind of thing. So I kind of like the needle where it's at. I would be willing to push it a little bit further towards dystopia.
I was gonna say like little more. A little more. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. It's
Okay.
hard for me to get a sense of where Jay was going with that particular clue. Jay likes to throw us these weird curveballs.
Yeah. I feel like the 11 months from now is like just sort of opening the door for more dystopia to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess so. If I were you, Jay, I would have said pepperoni and let us sort of like deal with the complexity of that answer.
It depends who you ask, right? I'm a vegetarian, so to me,
Right. Pure
that's
dystopia.
dystopia. But to someone who loves salami, like
I'm good with it right there. I'm good with it right there. I can't think of any more nuance to it. It's hard to think of anything beyond that.
All right, so Team J is thinking around here. Now, our team Dani Squared and also Brian, gets to rebuttal. We get to decide if we think the target is actually on this side or on this side. And we can score 1 point if we're correct. Their team has up to 4 points that they can score based off of the target. The center, if they actually get it, is 4 points. So I totally think this side.
I agree. I was looking at Jay when they were just.
You're not allowed to metagame.
Jay. That's also Jay's fault. Jay, you're supposed to keep a poker face.
That's
Wait,
totally
unless
fault.
Jay is trying to trick us.
Maybe.
True.
I mean,
That's the long game.
To be clear, yeah, that's amazing.
Is
To be
Jay
clear,
long gaming my long game?
we have actually an interesting opportunity through Zoom. You could actually close your own video and still watch everybody else when you're the clue giver.
That's true.
Which you can't do. You can't do that in real life. Like, it's really uncool to tell the person who gave the clue to leave the room, but that's probably the most fair way to play, but then they don't get to watch it. It's you know what I mean? So we actually
I also think it's just fun to watch the clue giver try not to make any facial expressions.
That's how I play all games, all guessing games. I look them dead in the eyes.
Right. So Dani, you need to understand this is not poker, and Jay does not have a good poker face. So you know.
I'm going to say that I don't think that this is as dystopic as they are making it out. I think 11 months is like reasonable. It's like cool.
11 months is probably better than,
reality.
the average.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go with this. And I think Dani already agreed. Brian, what do you think?
I agree also.
Okay, so we're going to say we think that this target is to the right. And now we find out the truth, where I'm going to put this down, because otherwise I could accidentally nudge this, and I don't want to do that. I've done this before, like I tried to do this and I accidentally like spin the wheel too. So like
if you spin the wheel that way, it's okay though.
That's true. No. Then the target goes that way.
Right.
Okay. Wow. We're gonna karate chop it. We slice it. Oh my god! Whoa!
What?
Whoa!
Well, you guys got a point on the
we
plus
get a
side.
point.
Yeah. I think that's the farthest off we've ever been on any clue up to this point.
This is true. Although I did say, like, it does happen. It definitely happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going through your head, Jay, though.
An extra point. So we're
what's going through my head is that based on everything going on and all the news and stuff, coronavirus could be here recurring forever. And I think if it was totally eliminated 11 months from now, it would be very, very good.
You picked like dystopian, subject matter in order to make a clue that you consider to be utopian.
That's
it's such a strange
best thing. That would be the best thing I would hope for right now.
Okay.
And I was looking at it from like all of the havoc that we could still wreak in the next 11 months before it totally goes away.
Yeah, but like, what if like not only coronavirus goes away in 11 months, but also like we get flying horses?
Right. So this
Very
is obviously a reflection of a person's character. If they're like an optimist or a pessimist, if you ask somebody what's the happiest thought you can think of, and they're like, well, maybe if I don't die in the next 3 days, you're like, it's like, wow, you're like a really downbeat person. But okay, Jay.
Okay. We're going to send the floor over to our team, to Team Dani Squared and Brian, which we have to come up with a better name than that.
Works for me.
Dani Squared and also Brian. Yeah, I like this name actually. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We'll start by picking our card. How about Brian be I think I'm going to elect Brian to be our clue giver. Okay. Oh no, I'm looking at the other side and I'm like, okay, what does this side say? It says movie or film.
Wow, that's a weird one. That's tough.
And this side says ethical to eat versus unethical to eat.
I suppose you have to go with that one.
You got to know your audience though, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. I'm going to do it for me, not for anybody else.
Okay.
It's very difficult to assume what other people think about things.
I don't think it's that difficult to assume what I think. Right. You guys did
Dani's already given that one away, Brian. You got something to work with.
All right, Brian, you ready?
Yes.
Tell me when to stop.
Now.
Okay. Also, just as an FYI, especially to Dani, but to everyone, if your target is like right on the edge or something and like not visible, ask me to respin it. Like, don't try to like make that work. Okay. You ready, Brian?
I'm good.
And I'm going to hold this up like this, and then I'm going to flip it. I can't see. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see everything?
Yeah. What were you saying about it being right on the edge?
I can respin it if it's like
Yeah,
super...
let's respin it.
Okay, great.
I looked. to double check. I don't know, Brian, if you just want an extra
Brian's
spoon.
just lying to make it easier. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, sure.
Ready?
Mm-hmm. It's in the same place as it was before.
I'm looking. Are you lying?
Yep.
Right? No.
No, he's not lying.
so
I did
because
this time.
the target is
All right.
on the screen, I wouldn't respin this. If you
Oh.
can see the target, it's like,
Too late.
like this, then you want to respin it. Like
Oh,
if
that
Just
1
right
degree
now.
was not made
in your
clear.
case, this was actually probably ideal.
Dani, you should look at this just in case this happens.
Oh, sorry.
So Brian asked
this
me to
is where
respin it on this,
Yeah.
and this is actually probably totally ideal, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is where
I
you
assumed
would
it's either split or it's not split.
Yeah, so
It has to
this
be like
is
an
where
even
you'd ask
split.
me to respin it, is if the
Yeah.
target is just not even visible. Which
Okay.
is like pretty rare that could happen. But if
I
the
guess
target's
I didn't
visible like
didn't
this,
interpret target as
4.
just the 4. I interpreted
middle.
target as all of the places where
Yes,
you
the middle.
Now, if
is
you want to get
the
to
target.
nuance, Dani, are you saying the middle of the middle? What if like some of the 4 was covered up? Would you see what I'm
That's a
thinking?
judgment call. So like if it's
Okay.
like this, that's a judgment call on your end. But if it's totally invisible, definitely make me respin it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's like this, if you want to go for it, that's kind of up to you. Yeah, if the target's visible, like the 4, I should say, if the 4 is visible, you can play that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, in the end, those are actually the easiest ones to get.
Those are ideal. Yeah. You could just like be so specific and like, what is that? Ethical to eat? That's like a blueberry.
that side
Is that more ethical than beans though? Like you know, anyway.
You have to say free range, you know,
Right. Free range,
organic.
Range, but not an animal.
a potato that was already going to get thrown out. All right, Brian.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Can you see everything?
Cool. Yep. Thank you.
Should I close it? Are you done?
Yep. You're good.
Wow, that's quick.
Well,
Okay.
I don't have the thing, but
Eyes can
everyone has
open.
to close their eyes.
I need to stare at it while the target is on here. I can't do it like you guys.
Yeah. That object permanence thing is tough.
It is really tough.
Depends on where the
Thank you for
needle's at.
acknowledging my struggle.
So the needle right now is pointing at ethical.
This would be like your best friend.
Okay. That's weird. It's usually the other way around in terms of
like the worst is things that are generally considered worst are on the other end. You know, dystopia and all that.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. That's what I thought, but maybe it's random. I don't know.
The cutest puppy in the world.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very unethical.
It's tough because I have to guess how ethical you all think about all of the different types of food, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's not an easy.
I would crack up if you threw out potato bread again, Brian.
Potato bread. Wet potato bread.
Right. You have to be super specific.
Is it more or less ethical to eat wet or dry potato bread?
There's no such thing as dry potato bread.
Well, also, it just says ethical to eat. I mean, like, that could be anything. Doesn't have to be food. Like,
It does not have to be food.
A Cessna airplane.
Dead
Is
in the
it
middle, I
ethical?
would think.
Yeah. Is it ethical to eat a shoe?
Not if it's made out of
Depends
leather.
on what the shoe material is.
If it's a cake.
well, like, it might be unethical to eat, like, life-saving evidence, but, like, it's not ethical to eat a
Crime scene evidence.
like,
Wow. I think Dani's going to be really good at this game. I'm going to go with almonds.
Ooh.
That's
Okay.
pretty ethical. I'm going to go ahead and move it to the ethical side because I think that almonds are pretty ethical to eat.
yeah, I wouldn't put it all the way to ethical.
No,
though.
probably not all the way.
Who's farming it? What's the work conditions?
That's true. Almond trees require a ridiculous amount of water.
True.
So, does Brian know that?
More ethical than not. It's definitely like on the ethical side, but like
It's in this quadrant, yeah, or in this half for sure, but like where? Yeah, almond trees do actually require a ton of water to do, so like maybe it's not the most ethical thing.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty ethical. It's an
I can't think of anything else wrong with almonds other than how you harvest them.
Yeah. What about like labor?
Brian's gonna whip out some bizarre scientific study that none of you guys have heard of, and be like, "You realize what almonds do to newborns?"
I mean, almonds actually.
Like I don't.
I don't know. I want to say like pretty ethical, just like not all the way.
Yeah. I agree. I can't think of anything that would make me move it either way.
I mean, yeah, can we think about working conditions for people who do harvest almonds? Almond trees, there's a lot of them actually in California. A lot of almonds come from California. California workers are usually okay. Not great, but okay.
Food labor in general tends to be questionable, which makes me want to push it towards unethical.
But I mean, like, what could he pick?
Right, everything's food labor.
Not shoes.
I don't know. What about like? Yeah. I think we're gonna go with like pretty ethical, but just not the most. What do you think? Should we go a little farther to the right or left?
I think it's good.
Okay. I think it's pretty good too. We are solidifying this answer.
Okay. Any thoughts, Jay, Lisa?
I have thoughts.
Please start.
I know that statistics would tell us to move to the right, but I would be so bold to move it to the left. But I don't have a strong opinion. That's just my thought.
Explain your not so strong opinion.
That, I mean, almonds are pretty ethical as far it's I don't know. I think it's more ethical than that line. Unless Brian knows some weird study that we don't. But does he think that the Danis would know that weird study?
Well, I know what Dani was saying about the water consumption, right? By that metric, everything is unethical, right? Like, I mean, like everything is like, not everything, but there's a lot of things that are unethical,
a lot of things
right?
don't take that much water.
Yeah, that's still actually a really pretty big could be a pretty big factor.
Yeah. So my assessment is the way that the Danis have it is, to me, where I would have put it, very roughly speaking.
I like that word, the Danis, though.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a dynamic duo.
Start a band.
Right.
So if we have to choose right or left, though, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go with a little bit less ethical because I think there are a ton of plants that take less water. Brian didn't put anything of like, hey, like a blueberry that dropped on the ground. Like there's no food labor potential exploitation in there. Like I feel like if it's just a 1 point thing, like it could be slightly less ethical than that.
Yeah. If I have to be the tiebreaker, I would go with the mathematics. I'd go with what Lisa's saying. I'm trying to think of like, if I were Brian and somebody if I had a clue that, let's say, was, like what would make me say almond? If it was further towards the ethical, I would try to embellish it a little bit more and say, oh, it's this thing that nobody's touched, and you know what I mean? Like you're leaning towards something that's like pristine, and you would anything in that little range, you would have to throw in these qualifiers like, oh, it's it's something that nobody's ever, it's not going to harm anybody. I would think of like these extra qualifiers. He just said almonds. Like he didn't even say like what kind of almonds, the size of them, or anything like that. You know what I mean? So, that's where my head's at. I'd say a little less ethical.
Okay.
They're going with this side.
Yes.
We're going with the bigger side. Everybody always goes with the bigger side.
The bigger side is usually what people go with, but not always. Yeah. All right, ready for the reveal?
Yeah.
Oh! Brian!
Wow.
He thinks that's kind of unethical.
It was the water consumption. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of unethical. Kind of ethical.
Okay.
Kind of ethical.
The bottom quadrant is like the least energy intensive, highest caloric, like legumes, rice, like kale maybe, right? But like after that, it's like things that are like fine. They're not meat, Dani. They're not meat. But they're on the bad side of the non-meat things.
Right. Like, what if you had something
like,
dead
meat
center?
Is here for me, so like
Right.
I was dealing with this.
So like, what are
Right.
where are eggs? Right. I don't know if eggs are on the good half or the bad half for you.
Probably like right in the middle.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like, what would you say is a completely neutral product?
An egg.
And you know what I mean? Like that's a tough clue though. But anyway, I guess
egg
you
is
guys
actually
understood.
A great example.
I guess you guys misinterpreted how much water consumption means to Brian Rice.
A lot. Wow, Brian.
I was just searching for anything that wasn't meat that I could ding. Right? It's like, what's the least ethical non-meat that you can have?
I came with almonds.
Okay.
Oh,
I couldn't think of anything worse.
I don't think that's like bad.
I would have put it more towards the middle like that.
Yeah, it's also hard to know. Like the only thing that Dani and I could come up with was like it takes water to make almonds.
That's all I could come up with. Also,
if I
pick a strawberry, what's there to go on?
A little bit less. Yeah, water.
If I had dead center, I would have said water. How ethical or unethical is it to
That
drink
seems
water?
very ethical to me.
Right, but you're consuming
like
water.
Clear.
Water takes a huge amount of water to produce.
Also, water
It's like
treatment.
100% water.
Water is 100% water.
Unless it's rainwater. It's still 100% water, but
Water
like
that
then you don't have to worry about the water treatment plants.
by going outside.
You can use that water to water almond trees. Think about
Right.
that.
Okay.
So we're tied.
Point for the other team. We fudged it. We tried our best though.
Yep.
I think we did really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we lead by 1 point now.
Thank you, Brian, for
Both
making me
teams
feel less
suck at
bad.
making points. Both teams are doing terribly right now. So, who will be the sidekick from your team?
Wait, we're tied right now, right?
No, the team that goes second gets 1 point.
Oh.
So technically, we are winning.
Yeah. Cool. I will be the psychic.
Okay. You ready for your cards, Peter?
Yes.
We did this one, dry and wet. No, actually, we did dry food and wet food. This is just dry and wet.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
It is
Okay.
important.
Mm-hmm.
And then this side, underrated skill versus overrated skill. We can make this very relevant.
Yes, we could.
PHP!
I will attempt to do underrated and overrated skill.
Lisa knows
just 'cause it's
exactly
more
where
fun.
I'd put PHP.
Yep.
Underrated.
Talk about PHP conversations a lot.
They have a tendency to come
more
up.
than once.
Yes.
What I call it, FIP.
Also today.
So wait, can I see the
Personal
card
home
one more time? I want to know which.
Yes.
I want to double check.
So I'll
which
hold
side.
it up when I reveal, if that's okay with
Okay.
you. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold it up like this so you can see it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna spin. Peter's gonna say stop.
Stop.
Okay, you ready, Peter?
Yeah,
you see everything, by the way?
The card is a little out of focus.
How's that?
Can you bring it a little bit closer just so I can double check the card?
Underrated, overrated.
Got it.
Okay,
Cool. You
ready
can
for me
open
to
it up.
show you?
Mm-hmm.
That exhale is telling us a lot, Peter.
Underrated.
He doesn't have a good poker breathing.
Underrated, overrated. Well, I'd be happy for you guys to guess purely off of that breath and see how accurate you think you can guess on my breathing. Underrated, overrated. Okay, you can close it. And y'all can open your eyes. Underrated, overrated. This is a really hard one. Now that I'm thinking about it, how do you underrate or overrate a skill? If you say a skill that's useful, people will be like, is it underrated or overrated?
Wait, don't give away your thought process.
You're right.
You are not allowed to be speaking here.
You're right.
Unauthorized talking. The ability to clearly communicate your thoughts about wavelength. Overrated skill. We will all patiently wait for Peter to decide on his clue.
We could continue talking about potato bread in the meantime.
Wet or dry potato? Only wet. There's only wet potato bread. Is that what we've
Slightly, just a little bit wet though.
like moist potato bread?
Yes.
Right.
Damp
That's the
potato
optimal
bread?
Potato bread.
I don't know that I've ever actually had potato bread.
I don't think I have.
I just did based on Brian's recommendation. It's delicious.
I wouldn't have it. It's pretty unethical.
Can we talk
I
about
almost
how
had
ethical
potato bread.
is? Where would we put potato bread?
Who's making?
Should I use almonds?
Probably right where the target was, Brian.
Of course.
Obviously.
Much less energy intensive to make potato bread than almonds though, per calorie.
Is that true?
For it absolutely has to be true, because almonds are like really bad for that, and like bread, rice, beans are really good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we get a clue.
The clue is being able to grow your own food to eat.
Can I see Dani, can you talk so I can see in big which side is which?
Then you have to talk so it highlights you.
You mean so I have to be the focus so that you guys can see the thing. That makes sense. Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah. So underrated.
The rest of you just stop talking while I'm talking so that it can focus on me and you guys can see the thing.
I think I got it. Yeah, underrated, overrated skill, Lisa, is it's not just whether it's a good or bad skill, it's what people think it is relative to what it is. It's super hard.
That's what I was trying to say before you guys shut me up.
Right.
Well, I just got it from you.
I feel like it's on the underrated side of the middle.
I feel like there's like a hype to it though, which would make it a little overrated. No?
Yeah, but you also had people starting COVID vegetable gardens.
So where would you put it, Lisa? Where would you? So slightly to the left?
Yes, slightly to the left, slightly on the underrated of the middle. Like there's some places where it's useful. Outside of the people that hype about it.
But do people think, if you ask someone in the street, like, how good is it to grow your own food? I think a lot of people would be like, oh, it's great. So is it greater than that? Is it greater than they think it is? You know what I'm saying? Or do you think people aren't excited? Do you think like most people would be like, nah, who cares about that?
Now I'm getting into like this like finer points of like, do they want to do it versus what do they think of the skill to be able to? And are those two different things, or am I just parsing this out way too fine a point? Like if it's just an assessment of like growing your own food, maybe overrated. If it's like actually having the skill to do so, maybe underrated. And again, just one side or the other of center.
Should we go center?
Sure.
To cover our bases, meaning if it's slightly one way, maybe we'll get some points.
Well, at this point, then we get to, if nothing else, we get to make force the Danis and Brian into an entertaining discussion, and they get to choose if we have a dead center.
I don't have a strong opinion, so if you do want to tilt it left, I can definitely defer.
I'm not sure I have a strong opinion on this one either. Like, do you want to do just like dead center just for fun?
Shout out to Dani for holding the thing up this whole time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, now in quarantine.
Fine. All right, so our
My tricep strength is legendary.
that's our final answer.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Not a
So you wanna go-
discussion. Not a discussion. It's for sure underrated. That is for sure an underrated skill.
I think people go nuts, especially in cities. Like, this is just what Jay was saying. Like, people go nuts for growing your own food. And, like, never in my entire life have I needed to grow my own food. But people go insane for it.
But
So,
on the flip side of that, like, I feel like sometimes when somebody's like, I have my own garden, I'm like, ugh, like, why?
I think growing your own food is a cool skill. I think it's underrated.
What is Peter?
I think this is the hardest clue we've ever had.
Maybe you guys should guess like smack in the middle.
Anything you
They
think.
can't. That's why we kicked it to them like that.
Anything you think, it flips in your head. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
like, it's so
exactly.
crazy to think about this particular clue.
Absolutely.
Brian, how
Because
often
you're like,
do you
ooh,
use
that
your
is good.
lemons?
You're like, oh, but is it overrated now?
Yeah.
This is a hard question. Like the way that
I am overrating it now. I am overrating this
Right.
underrated thing. I'm underrating this overrated thing.
Right.
Brian, how do you rate your lemons?
I absolutely love them.
You grow your own lemons?
I have a lemon tree, yeah.
Wow.
Sweet. Or sour.
So, which is fantastic, and I love it.
That's
But
so
I
underrated.
certainly
that
overrate it myself.
It's super underrated.
Like, I love them
and I would
way
rate it
more than
higher.
they're useful.
I would rate it higher than it is currently rated, meaning that it is underrated. I feel strongly that it's this way.
I feel like the argument for underrated is stronger than overrated, so I think I overrate the people. I'm like, ugh. The actual
That's fair. The people who grow their own food are really snobby and obnoxious, but the actual skill, I think, is underrated.
Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment to my skill, if not my personality.
Yeah, your personality
Yeah,
sucks, but the
we
skill
can
is
go
good.
with whichever you all think.
Okay.
I don't have a strong.
I
I
think,
really hope I'm not wrong.
I think underrated, yeah.
This is gonna, I'm like, I'm gonna lose all of my cred if it's not on this side.
All I'll say before you flip it is, I wish I picked the other thing because this was so hard. And I see, like, as soon as you guys were guessing, you felt what I felt was just like, how the fuck do you pick a clue? Like, that's going to be completely backwards from what you think is important there.
Oh, my
Nicely done.
value as a
And-
human has been validated.
And so I unfortunately was thinking, I think the way Dani thinks, and I should have said the
Unfortunately.
ability to grow your own food, like where you can eat, you can have a sustainable diet. You know what I mean? Like you could literally, I'm thinking in the form of like, we are going to face a zombie apocalypse and this world is going to enter this utter dystopia.
Right.
Nobody knows how to grow their own food. Not just a lemon tree, but like, you know, enough to survive on their own.
What do you mean, just a lemon tree?
I mean, just a lemon tree. Like, if you think you could survive off of lemons, more power to you, Brian. And you
I
have
won't
that
get
skill.
scurvy, or is
I
that
didn't think
why?
you
No,
would be
no.
this popular.
But
I think
my
it's
point is
citrus.
this. My point is this. Is like, what is a vastly underrated skill? The moment you think of it, it's like, if it's vastly underrated, it must mean it's very valuable. And
It
if it's very
depends on the
valuable, then
context.
people want to have it.
In a zombie apocalypse, shooting a crossbow is a super valuable skill, but on the day-to-day, not that much.
Right. So how do you say that? Because if you said shooting a crossbow in a zombie apocalypse is
Super
a perfectly valuable skill, nobody would underrate that.
See, you
Right.
would say, yeah, you might want to qualify it with growing your own food in a zombie apocalypse. Then I think we would have gone. much more
You
like
gotta
this.
go. You gotta go. Being a vaccine maker in like November of this year.
Coronavirus.
That would have been perfect. Yeah. Yeah, but like the context, it's so hard to say that because the moment you say something that's useful, I'm like, how would people underrate something that's so useful? The fact that it landed there was so hard to think of something that
It's a hard one. I agree.
But you guys got the point.
I feel like I would have lost all of my credit if I was wrong. So
I mean, to your credit, Dani, you literally pointed and said it's here, and you literally pointed exactly where the marker was.
I felt like it was. I was on Peter's wavelength, if you will. Do we have time for one more from crew to even it out?
Okay. I do.
All right, we're gonna let newcomer Dani be our psychic.
Right.
Ready for it?
Yes, I suppose.
She's like, maybe. Okay. I always like to do like the boring side and then the interesting side. Okay, so dangerous versus safe.
Okay.
This feels like a safe card.
Yeah.
Culturally significant versus culturally insignificant.
I love that.
That seems much harder.
That is harder.
Fun, but I don't. Am I in it to win it, or are we in it for the conversation?
We're always in it to win.
I'm gonna go with this one then, because why not?
Yeah.
That other one.
Dangerous and safe. Also, sometimes the simple ones can spark the most interesting.
As soon as I said it, I was thinking about it.
All right, dangerous versus safe.
Dangerous, safe, dangerous.
And here's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna hold that up. I'm gonna spin it. Dani, you're gonna tell me when to stop.
Now.
Okay.
Yes.
And now everyone's gonna close their eyes except for Dani, and Dani is going to look at where the target is. Can you see everything?
Yeah. Can I see the card though? Can you see
it now?
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm good.
Wow, you want me to close it? How are you guys doing this? Okay, we can open our eyes now. I don't know how you guys do that. I have to like stare at it on the wheel.
It depends on how nuanced the thing is.
Which just so happens to work out that I can do that because it's in my house.
Okay. Wearing your helmet while riding a bike.
Uh-huh.
That's not the safest thing you can do. Safest thing would be like the panic room.
Pretty safe. I guess maybe if she had said wearing a helmet and elbow pads and knee pads and protective gear while you're riding a bike, that would have been a little safer, right? She went with just helmet.
But you don't have it. You don't have it in the safest. You have it as
pretty
very safe. Yeah.
Like pretty safe, but not the safest.
Right.
Maybe like that.
I think where you had it before was
safer,
maybe better. Yeah, like maybe like that middle one you just had. And we're gonna be like off by like half, but
it's gonna be over here.
Yeah.
There's no way it's not in the safe half. There's no way.
Right.
We're sure it's in the safe half. It's just a matter of where.
I think she thinks it's a little bit safer than that. I don't think so. But
she came up with the answer super fast, which tells me that she thinks it's really safe.
Right. I agree. Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. So notch it a little bit.
Maybe one notch safer like that.
That's
Would you go even more?
It's up to you. It's a tough one. I mean, it's the easiest one we've gotten, but these little decisions are tough.
You think it's the easiest one?
I would maybe notch it just one more, like that.
Yeah, that's
probably I'd go with that. Yeah. Seems like pretty darn safe.
Agreed.
Final answer.
And the speed at which she came up with the answer tells me like she was able to like deduce really quickly that this was a super safe thing.
I think she's also a natural at this game.
I kind of think so too. Kind of freaking me out.
All right, final answer.
We're gonna lock it in.
Okay, so I'm willing to go and say they're totally wrong.
Okay.
Totally wrong.
Okay.
Like if I had to put something at that needle point, I would have said pillows, quarantine. You know what I mean? Like zero
That's
chance
true.
of
Riding a bike is still a little
riding a bike has an inherent risk to it, even with
riding a bike is dangerous. Riding a bike with a helmet,
right
riding a bike with a helmet is less dangerous. You know what I mean? Like you're mitigating danger. Now, I got in trouble for this because this was my logic when Jay gave the clue of, the coronavirus or whatever. I'm like, he's talking about something inherently dangerous or inherently bad. So I went on the bad side, but I still go by it. Riding a bike is dangerous. It's not the most dangerous thing in the world. If you just said riding a bike, I would put that on the slightly dangerous side. I don't feel like I'm going to die when I'm going to ride my bike, but I know it's not safe. I'm wearing a helmet, makes me slightly safer. I'm willing to say it's definitely on the left.
He thinks it's like here.
More dangerous.
I think
it's like dead
helmets
center.
are only slightly good, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm for the safe. I agree with you, Peter, and with choosing that just because of math. But I would say I'll tell you why I think that Dani and Brian are right, and that's because riding a bike with a helmet is like the paradigm of safety. Like if you think of
like the poster child.
Like exactly. Like be safe. Ride a helmet when you ride a bike.
All right, you're wrong because of this. Just simply ask yourself this question: if you saw the needle right where they have it, would you have said anything remotely close to riding a bike? You would have said, a bomb shelter, you know what I mean? With like all this food, and you would have said something that sounds inherently safe. Why would you pick riding a bike? Riding a bike is inherently slightly dangerous.
It's the paradigm. I'm happy to choose. I want to choose your side anyway, so I don't have to argue about it.
Okay, they're saying this time.
Wait, Lisa, do you agree with that?
Okay.
I do. I certainly don't think it's safer than where they got the
It can't be
needle.
safer than where they have it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So at the minimum.
Go for it.
Oh, safer.
There it is.
See, it's the
Our
paradigm.
logic for her answering quickly was totally right. The paradigm. Dave was on point.
I was trying to think of like if your mom's telling you to be safe, what if she means put your helmet on? Like
exactly. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
Something universally safe.
Okay, so I'll throw this out here, and I know we got to wrap up soon.
Glad we did that
Brian's got a class.
Brian.
Yeah, no, you guys completely won that. Because your team was the only one that actually got any real points. Like so far, we've just been getting like
you actually only scored 1 point.
But I'm saying this is the first time we actually hit on the marker. But yeah, like I had a conversation with somebody who was studying to be a doctor, and he was talking about people on motorcycles. He's like, they're wearing helmets. They get hit by a car. You know what I mean? Like, and they're destroyed. Like they're paralyzed. They're this. Is like regardless of the helmet or whatever. So regardless of what you think. But I
think we had too long
You're talking
to
about
think about
the message, right?
Helmets reduce your chance of death by 40%. By the way, so they help a lot.
Right, so you're talking about
that's
an
40%
activity
reduction. That's not
an activity that could end in death. You're talking about an activity that could result in death.
Guys, we've had too long to think about it. The reason that it's where it's at is because of the length of time Dani had to think about her response. The more you think about this and the deeper into that rabbit hole we keep going like, oh no, it's so unsafe. But the reason that Brian and I chose over there had to do 100% with the amount of time that Dani thought about this.
No, this is
not
true.
very long. Because if you don't think about it for very long, it's really easy to be like, yeah, riding a bike with a helmet is super safe. And then as soon as you like start to question that, you start to go into this like spiral of madness that we're doing.
And very generally speaking, if it's at an extreme, the person comes up with a clue a little bit faster than if it's in the middle, right? So like the fact that it lands,
shelter, that would have made more sense.
That means there's a nuclear war going on. I don't know.
Getting a proven vaccine. I don't know.
No, I like that. I think this answer is spot on. I think wearing a helmet is the paradigm of safety.
Yeah, it's the poster child of being.
This means my ability to guess has been completely wrong. When I've been going off of the fact that the activity of riding a bike or being in, you're
He's
just
looking
talking
at
about
the-
coronavirus. You're
He's
just
looking
talking
at
about coronavirus.
the first
Yeah.
thing and not the qualifier, and we're all
Right.
focusing on the qualifier, right?
Mhm.
Peter was so on point last time, and this time
Right,
Peter was
right.
just like, where was he today?
Shake
Where
it
were
up.
you, Peter?
I
You
will.
got good days and bad
I will
days.
make the claim. Yeah, I will. We have good days and bad days, but I will make a claim that these clues, for whatever reason, the combination of things were a lot harder. And sometimes it's not the clue, right? The clue plus where the arrow lands. You
Mhm.
could take something that's very, like wet and dry, and then all of a sudden it becomes a very difficult, thing to
Yeah, like what if you said like dry dog food, which you think is super dry, but then when you think about like the moisture levels that actually have to exist in there for it to be like
You probably can't use the very word of the clue in your answer.
I actually
but,
don't think you can do that. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you can't.
Right. And then I think that we didn't have any real obvious ones. Like if I picked
Mhm.
wet and dry for the clue that I had of underrated skill, and it was
Mhm.
all the way over here, then I just have to think of something super wet. That would have been so easy.
Water.
Like the
Yeah.
ocean. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
everybody would have gotten pretty close to exactly where it was going to land. But I picked
Where
a
would you
very
put
bizarre clue.
clouds? Like pretty wet, but not totally.
Yeah, clouds
wet.
are wet. Yeah, but they look dry, right? So,
Anyways, thank you guys for playing today. Today
Yeah,
we
thank you,
brought on
Dani.
some very interesting topics. Most
I always-
importantly, safety of riding a bike with a helmet is the safest thing.
Mhm.
from now on, when we give clues, I'm gonna have to think very carefully when they said like riding a bike with a helmet or versus riding a bike with a helmet. I think I'm just focusing on the wrong thing. I'm focusing on the wrong.
Or you could view it in iambic pentameter and be like riding a bike with a helmet.
You just threw off the whole game,
That
Dani.
was a weird English joke, and I'm done now. Anyways, thank you all for playing. Thank you for watching and sticking with us if you're still here. Tune in next time where we will play maybe the same game and maybe a different one. Who knows? It's a
Dani, I have a game which I don't know if it will fly here, but we can talk offline if you want to. I could show it to you and we can explore it as a possibility.
heck yeah.
I happen to love this game, but just if you wanted another option.
We could do another option. We're just getting comfortable with this. This is obviously the time where we should change. And I know that sounds like a joke, but I'm serious. We should change.
Yeah,
because we're
we
coming.
like really figured it out today. We're just
If
like
we played
trying
again, the
every
game would
time.
be broken. It would literally
Yeah.
be just four.
We're just done.
Yeah, we didn't. I think the highest score was what we just got, which was on the border of 2. All right, y'all. See y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.